More than 8,000 years ago, in the cool valleys of the South Caucasus, someone crushed a handful of wild grapes into a simple clay jar. Then they walked away. Days later, they returned to something extraordinary. The sweet juice had begun to bubble, its aroma had changed. Its taste was completely different. Without knowing it, wild yeast had transformed sugar into alcohol. No one understood the science, but they had witnessed one of nature's greatest transformations. That moment would outlive kingdoms. It would inspire religions, shape empires, and become one of humanity's oldest traditions. This is the story of wine, not simply as a drink, but as a force that helped shape civilization. For centuries, many believed wine began in the vineyards of France or Italy. Modern archaeology tells a much older story. The earliest known evidence of grape winemaking comes from the South Caucasus, especially present-day Georgia. Chemical traces preserved inside Neolithic pottery show that people were deliberately fermenting grapes as early as 6000 to 5800 BC. Researchers identified tartaric acid, one of the clearest chemical fingerprints of grapes. It is among the strongest evidence yet discovered for early wine production. This was not a single lucky accident. It was organized winemaking. Generation after generation, people learned which vines produced the best fruit. They learned when to harvest. They discovered that clay vessels could safely preserve the precious liquid. An unexpected natural process slowly became knowledge. Knowledge became craftsmanship. Craftsmanship became culture. Then another remarkable discovery changed our understanding even further. Inside a cave called Erini I in modern-day Armenia, archaeologists uncovered what is currently the world's oldest known winery, dating to around 4100 BC. The site revealed an entire production system. There was a stone platform where grapes were crushed underfoot. Channels carried the juice into large clay vessels buried in the ground, where cooler temperatures helped fermentation. Archaeologists also found grape seeds, dried vines, drinking cups, and storage jars, all preserved by the cave's dry conditions. This was no experiment. It was organized winemaking. But why invest so much effort? Part of the answer may lie in the cave itself. Arani I also contained burials. Many archaeologists believe wine played an important role in funeral ceremonies and religious rituals. Even at the dawn of civilization, wine appears to have been more than a beverage. It had become a bridge between the living, the dead, and the unseen world. As farming spread and trade routes expanded, knowledge of the vine traveled with merchants, migrants, and ideas. Gradually, wine reached one of history's greatest civilizations, ancient Egypt. Along the Nile, beer was the everyday drink. Wine was something different. It was expensive, prestigious, and closely associated with royalty, temples, and the elite. Egyptian vineyards flourished in the Nile Delta. Fine wines were also imported from the Levant for those who could afford them. The Egyptians documented their wines with remarkable care. Large clay jars recorded the pharaoh's regnal year, the vineyard where the grapes were grown, and even the name of the chief vintner. Thousands of years before modern wine labels, Egyptians were already recording provenance and quality. When archaeologists opened the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922, they discovered dozens of carefully sealed wine jars. These were not buried for celebration. They were intended for eternity. To the Egyptians, death marked the beginning of another journey. Wine accompanied the king into the afterlife as a sacred offering. Yet even Egypt's reverence for wine would soon be surpassed. In ancient Greece, wine became something even greater. It became a gift from the gods. The Greeks believed this gift belonged to Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, theater, and transformation. Unlike the gods of war or wisdom, Dionysus represented emotion, celebration, and the unpredictable side of human nature. Greek myths tell of him traveling across distant lands, teaching people how to cultivate vines. Whether these stories preserve distant memories or simply express the importance of wine, they reveal one thing clearly. The Greeks believed wine connected humanity with the divine. Some followers gathered in festivals filled with music, dance, and theater. Others participated in the mysterious Dionysian mysteries. Because initiates were forbidden from revealing what happened, historians still debate the true nature of these ceremonies. The mystery survives to this day. Yet wine's greatest influence in Greece happened elsewhere, inside the symposium. A symposium was far more than a drinking party. It was a place for conversation, philosophy, poetry, politics, and education. Ideas about justice, love, and the universe were debated over shared cups of wine. Even then, moderation mattered. Wine was almost always mixed with water in a large vessel called a crater. Drinking it undiluted was considered uncivilized. Wine was meant to sharpen conversation, not destroy judgment. As Greek influence spread across the Mediterranean, another civilization inherited this tradition. Rome. The Romans embraced wine on a scale never seen before. Dionysus became Bacchus. His festivals evolved into the Bacchanalia, celebrations so passionate that Roman authorities eventually restricted them. But Rome's greatest contribution was practical. As Roman armies expanded, vineyards followed, retired soldiers settled new lands, farmers planted vines, merchants carried wine across roads and sea routes stretching from Britain to North Africa. Wine became an economic force. It generated taxes, supported trade, and connected distant provinces. Roman writers such as Cato, Columella, and Pliny the Elder carefully documented vineyard management and winemaking techniques. Their knowledge shaped European viticulture for centuries. The Romans also adopted wooden barrels from Celtic peoples. Amphorae remained essential across the Mediterranean, but barrels proved especially useful in Northern Europe. Wine reflected Roman society itself. The wealthy enjoyed prized vintages. Ordinary citizens often drank rough, diluted wine, while many soldiers relied on posca, a mixture of sour wine and water. By the height of the empire, wine had become more than a drink. It had become part of Rome's identity. Then the empire collapsed. Trade declined, cities weakened. It seemed possible that centuries of winemaking knowledge would disappear forever. Instead, it survived behind monastery walls. Wine had already held a sacred place in Jewish tradition for centuries. It marked the Sabbath, weddings, and Passover. Early Christianity inherited that symbolism. During the Last Supper, Jesus gave wine profound spiritual meaning. It became central to the Eucharist and remained deeply woven into Christian worship. That sacred purpose ensured its survival. Christian monasteries possessed land, stability, and written records. Monks carefully cultivated vineyards because wine was essential to their faith. The Benedictines and later the Cistercians improved vineyard management generation after generation. They studied soils, slopes, harvests, and climate. Without realizing it, they laid the foundations of what modern winemakers call terroir. Some of Europe's greatest wine regions, including Burgundy and Champagne, owe much of their early development to these medieval communities. Then came the age of exploration. European ships carried grapevines across oceans. Spanish missionaries planted vineyards throughout the Americas. Portuguese settlers introduced vines to new colonies. Dutch settlers established vineyards in South Africa. Later, European varieties reached Australia and New Zealand. The vine adapted almost everywhere it was planted. A local tradition had become a global one. Today, wine is produced on every inhabited continent except Antarctica. It is shared at celebrations, used in sacred ceremonies, collected by enthusiasts, and enjoyed around ordinary dinner tables. Yet every glass still depends on the same simple process. Crush a grape, let yeast transform sugar into alcohol. Wait, modern wineries use advanced technology, but the essential chemistry has changed very little. Perhaps that is wine's greatest lesson. Its story is not only about alcohol. It is about curiosity, about people choosing to understand nature instead of fearing it, about farmers, merchants, philosophers, monks, explorers, and countless ordinary people who carried this tradition across generations. From the villages of the South Caucasus to the tombs of Egypt, from the symposiums of Athens to the vineyards of Burgundy, from Roman roads to wineries across the modern world, wine has quietly traveled alongside civilization itself. Now think back to where our journey began. A quiet valley, a simple clay jar, a handful of forgotten grapes. The people who witnessed that mysterious transformation could never have imagined what would follow. Empires would rise, religions would embrace it, cultures would celebrate it, and thousands of years later, every open bottle would continue their story. The glass before you is more than a beverage. It is the latest chapter in one of humanity's oldest journeys, a journey of curiosity, ingenuity, and the timeless desire to transform the ordinary into something extraordinary. History isn't only written in books, it's also found on our plates and in our cups. Subscribe and join us as we uncover the extraordinary stories behind the everyday foods and drinks that changed the course of human history, one bite and one sip at a time.